Hey yo, what's up, what's good? It's your resident African millennial who simply loves art. This time coming to you with something that I wouldn't exactly call myself an expert in. Not exactly to paint myself as an expert in film and TV, though it is something I do have a deep passion for, have had a little bit of experience within the industry, whilst aspiring to have a prominent career in it. Thus I have done more research and have put more time into film and TV than I have into today's topic of music. So again, I'll put this out there right at the beginning to let you know I'm not exactly the leading man to talk to about music.
See, I be common person, but my opinions will still be my own.
However, this is African Entertainment Reviews, and Uncle Omari promised you in my very first video that I will be covering all types of African entertainment, music being a huge part of it. And wow, what an absolute evolution African music has gone through, with African artists and their music becoming more well-renowned and actually becoming global favorites for some people. And that is absolutely fantastic. But, and this might very well be just a very niche topic talked about in Kenyan local channels, or I might just be talking out of my ass, as we have established I am not an authority in this. When it comes to African music per country, there seems to be a powerhouse that is missing. I mean, their music is out there, but what exactly is their identity? For context, let's look at our immediate down south neighbors, Tanzania, whose music is popularly known as bongo, and quite seemingly any music that comes out of there is intrinsically linked to this title and identity. In this same way, Mbala is associated to Senegalese and Gambian musical identity, whereas Afrobeat is inseparable from Nigerian musical identity, and the wide range of Marabi, Kwaito, and Amapiano are intrinsically linked to South African musical identity. However, for some reason, people would be hard-pressed to outrightly classify Kenyan music. And depending on who you're talking to, some people would actually argue that Kenyan music has lost its identity. We'll get to that soon enough. As for the question of, is it a problem that Kenyan music has no outright identity? My answer to that would actually be, no, I don't think so. I mean, you can quite literally rewind this video just a few seconds and you will hear that I give 4 distinct names to South African music. And each of those names is beholden as a popular genre of music in South Africa. And just touch on that in the Kenyan context, because I feel it would be remiss if I didn't. The country does have over 40 odd tribes, each with its own culture and musical identity tied to that. And to be quite honest, each of these cultural groups do hold near and dear their own artists and their music. The Luya have their Mulembe, whilst the Kikuyu have Mugithi. The coastal communities treat us to Taarab and Chakacha, and the Luo have given us Benga, whilst my community has given us this. Pure gold. Anyway, each of these genres are very niche and have very little to any crossover over other cultures. Thus, none of them can actually carry the burden of an entire country's musical identity. Which pretty much brings us back to the main topic of discussion. For that to be accomplished, a musical identity needs to be more unifying. It needs to have that nataka kukushika mo, which directly translates to I want to touch more of you. Pause. Or not, it depends. Basically, most Kenyan music needs to feel more identifiable to its own crowds. And directing this to the claims of some people that Kenyan music has lost its identity, losing actually means that you had something before. Well then, allow me to take you back to the early 2000s, also known as the millennials' golden age of upbringing. Good times. At this point in time, Kenyan music was dominated by 2 production labels, Ogopa DJs and Caliph Records. And not only that, we had 2 very distinctive and unique Kenyan musical genres, Kapuka and Genge. And the artists that we had at this time, as the kids would put it today, understood the assignment. We had Isa, Nameless, Pilipili, Big Pin, Ratatat, K-Rapt, Wahoo, Juakali, Major, Kleptomaniacs, Longombas, Nazizi, Lady S, Jimwat, Eric Wainaina, Waire, Avril, Maya, Do Vultures, Nonini, Abaskubafu, Koflani, you name them. Every single one of them was dropping hit after hit after hit. In this early 2000s era, Kenyan music seemed set in its identity of Kapuka and Genge, and we just wanted it to keep on going. And it seems very hard to argue that this isn't the peak of Kenyans being united by Kenyan music. Heck, if in doubt, just pop any early 2000s Kenyan music in a room full of Kenyans and watch the reaction as they absolutely pop off. But even with Kapuka and Genge as the top classifications of Kenyan musical identity, our artists still felt very comfortable delving into other contemporary musical genres of the time, such as R&B.
Many faces, many races, I've come through many places.
For those with a keen ear, you have probably heard me use this Giddy Giddy Maji Maji instrumental as a background for my videos. Anyway, back on track. You know, because we're talking about music. The 2000s blessed us, then left us, and in came the 2010s. Technological advancements were at an all-time high, thus encouraging up-and-coming artists to further diversify their musical experiments. Whilst Kapuka and Genge still had a few practitioners, the internet age had introduced an entirely new and very broad range of discovery. Local artists felt as free as ever to dip their artistic toes into the broad ocean of musical genres from reggae to rock, thus giving birth to the talent pool of Calligraph Jones, Octopizzo, Sauti Sol, Camp Mula, Just a Band, Heart the Band, and even rock bands such as Parking Lot Grass and Murphy's Flow. And slowly as we transition deeper into the 2010s to the current 2020s, the very art forms of Genge and Kapuka evolved into Gengetone, Afro-Soul, Afrofusion, and the likes. Whereas even deeper niche musical genres such as UK drill found a new home in Kenya under the Kenyan drill genre. And I could very well be wrong, but I feel like this is the root for the argument brought about by people that Kenyan music has lost its identity, as it has become increasingly difficult to broadly categorize Kenyan music into any musical identity. So, have we actually lost our musical identity? Well, technically, if you're looking at it from the point of view where we used to be able to boldly claim that Kapuka and Genge is our musical identity, then yes, we have lost our identity. But then again, just like South Africa has 6-7 different musical genres that you can link directly to them, so do we. We have Gengetone. No matter your reservations about the actual music that is produced within that genre, we still own it as our own. And much like Nigeria's Afrobeat, which is a very loaded label, as it gets a bit tricky to actually define exactly what Afrobeat is. Technically, every beat with African undertones does qualify as Afrobeat. But then again, I'm not a musical expert here. And still, the term Afrobeat is very much intrinsically linked to Nigerian music and their artists. Such is the case with labels such as Afro-Soul and Afrofusion. While still being very loaded labels that can be linked to a wide variety of African music, its origins can still be intrinsically linked to Kenyan music and Kenyan artists such as Sauti Sol and Mviri the Storyteller, all who drop music that are literally panty droppers even if you do not understand a word of what they are singing. So if your worry or complaint is that Kenyan music has lost its identity, trust you me, we are okay.
Yetu sawa hata kama Genge tulia.
And now to close it out, as I have spoken way too long about something I am not an expert on, one final critique I do hear people bring about when speaking about Kenyan music losing its identity is its marketability. Now, just my 2 cents on this particular bit, I don't think that the identity is the selling point of your music, but the music itself. I don't think that Burna Boy is loved simply because he markets his music as Afrobeat music, but simply because he makes good music overall. Thus, looking at the bigger picture, I don't actually believe it matters under what umbrella a Kenyan artist's music is identified as. What actually matters is the quality of said music. And hey, it can be argued that a huge point of origin for this discussion is based off nostalgia, seeing as most of the people I have had bring up this debate or the people I have personally talked to about this are millennials or older. But reasonable points have been raised, so I just can't chalk it down to we miss the good old days. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts on the subject matter discussed here today. Feel free to tell me all about your favorite Kenyan musician or your favorite Kenyan music era. If you're one of the handful of my non-Kenyan subscribers and viewers, I would love to hear your thoughts on what Kenyan music you have actually consumed before and what you thought about it. Also, feel free to let me know what you think about the quality of this video. I apologize for all the singing that I have done in this video. And hey, I will let you know that every subscription
Makes me sweat, makes me harder, makes me lose my breath.
Yeah, you know. That's all from me. I hope we will be talking about music again. But in the meantime, you can check any one of these videos out. It has been your soon-to-be favorite Uncle Omari, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one.